Hello and welcome back to Lottie's plot. It's April, it's spring. The trees are in full bloom, the flowers are flowering, everything's flourishing and the warmth, it's heating up. Such good weather to be out in. The birds are singing. We have so much ahead of us this month and I can't wait for you to join us along the way. I'm really loving spring here on the allotment. The flowers are just superb, especially the beautiful yellow fritillarias with their large bell-like flowers. It's worth remembering how the allotment looked last December. We had planted a range of bulbs and herbaceous perennials, rather later than it is advised, but come April and we have a flower bed of colour and potential. Some plants have failed, and others have been badgered, but overall I'm very pleased. It's been very dry so far, and some of the plants are showing stress, particularly the alliums. The ground is also bone dry and starting to crack. This doesn't seem to affect the bindweed. Love it or hate it, it's one of nature's survivors. These were both really full at the beginning of April, but because it was so dry, we used it all up and we had a slight concern. However, we had a really good rain last night, and so they're starting to fill up again. This is bed 8. It was originally going to be put in line with all the other beds, but we decided to put it up the front so that we can fill it with a crop that really loves that rich sunlight. Meanwhile, the bindweed pushes up against the weed membrane at the frontier of our cultivated area. A reminder of how readily it could reclaim cleared areas. We need to keep this under observation or we'll be back to square one. It's a constant battle until we manage to clear the whole plot. With the need to contain weed regrowth, we've started to dig the southeastern corner. This will provide us with more growing space and a recreational area for barbecues and, given good weather, somewhere for summer lounging. So it's the end of April now, and here we are at the shallot and onion bed, and as you can see, it's doing fantastically well. It's been one of the driest but warmest Aprils for many years, and whilst it has caused a problem on the water harvesting side, the crops have absolutely loved it. They're flourishing, they're green, they absolutely love the weather. The potatoes we planted at the beginning of April are starting to come up now, so we'll keep a good eye on them, keep them warm, keep them covered up. We built up the mounds and will use either fleece or leaf mould to cover, if Jack Frost looks like he's visiting. When we started Lottie's plot back in December 2014, the allotment had become overgrown and was reverting back to nature. This was how it looked then, rather sad and in need of a complete makeover. And this is how it looks in April 2015, just 5 months of hard work later. 8 raised beds are now completed, and with the new development in the southeast corner, we're well ahead of our planned schedule. There have also been other developments. The old ivy burdened sycamore in the southern border had split major branches from the main trunk. It was very sick and was regarded as a hazard and had to be removed. It's always sad when mature trees have to be felled, but when they are badly covered with ivy, you can't just cut the ivy, as it then parasitizes the sick tree further and will finally kill its host. The tree's removal now opens up the southern aspect of the allotment to receive more hours of direct sunlight, and of course gives us barrow loads of new wood chip. On a happier note, I entered the March newsletter competition and won 4 packets of seeds from the excellent seed store on site. My choices were spinach, leeks, beetroot and rainbow chard. I'll let you know how I get on with these as the season progresses.
Right, these are the sort of plants we want to grow for food. We've got true root crops like parsnips, beetroot, carrots, which are always sown where they're to grow, because if we transplant them we break this taproot and they grow misshapen. So roots always are put where they're going to grow, good soil, left undisturbed. The other thing that we want to put where it's going to grow are things that grow quickly, because transplanting will always cause a check to growth.
Right.
Things that we want to grow fast without a check, we put them where they're going to grow. So these quick growing salads will go straight where they are. Things that take longer to come to harvest, and particularly at wide spacing, makes more sense to sow them in a small space, either in a very nice bit of seed bed, or I tend to use a separate pot with bought compost, so I don't need to worry about weeds.
Yeah.
And then as they grow, I transplant them, put maybe in a cell pack, and then out at final spacing. If you imagine these cabbages will finish up at about a foot square. Well, if I plant one seed every foot, the seedling will just disappear among the weeds. We spend all our time weeding out the weeds and we'll probably kill our plants as we're doing it. But by having them, sowing them separately and then planting them out, it gives us more time to get the ground prepared. And if we've got the ground prepared nicely like this already, it gives time for the weeds to grow and us to hoe them off. Because if we've got fertile soil, we will always have some weeds amongst it. So we look closely at some of these seeds. Carrot, beetroot just about big enough that we can handle individual seeds. Parsnip, we can definitely handle individual seeds, so we can actually put seeds in at the final spacing. We don't need to worry about thinning. Lettuce, well, some people with very delicate fingers might be able to space sow those, but I would much rather sprinkle them over the surface and then move them out later. So these quick growing salads, got a mixture of seed types there, but they will all grow together, and they've been chosen to grow at all at about the same sort of speed.
Right.
It'll be interesting when we do sow things, according to the temperature of the soil, they will come up at different speeds. Some things will germinate quite like cabbages, will germinate quite happily when the soil is cool. Carrots and parsnips will wait for the soil to warm up.
Yeah. It's quite fascinating, the size variation in all of them. You know, as you said, you've got some that are really, really delicate and will need delicate fingers. And then you've got some, you know, like the beetroot and the parsnip that are actually quite, you know, they're quite large in size and quite easy to see and to separate.
Yes, parsnips particularly. And we're not looking at peas and beans today, but that's the bigger end of our vegetable growing.
Right.
Those are probably the biggest seeds as a vegetable grower that we're likely to handle.
And that's all we have time for from Oz today. For the full video, check out the More Green website. As April draws to a close, the remaining wilderness looks verdant in the spring sunshine. The daffodils are over and in need of deadheading and marking up for moving later in the year. Our other surprise plants will also need moving as we develop this area. But for now, here's a nice dadcam pretty sequence. It's the end of April, the tulips and the fritillaria are up. It's been a really dry but warm month. We've got a load more crops in, and we hope you'll join us again next month to see what else we have in store. Thanks for watching, goodbye. So now we'll wait and see. Wait and see what?
Sound, Betty.